In 1887, census records from Harlan County, West Virginia, uncovered a chilling irregularity in the Whitaker family documents, while neighboring rural households kept steady logs. The Whitakers displayed baffling shifts in household-size kids who materialized and vanished without any formal explanation. Harlan's rugged Appalachian terrain had long sheltered reclusive clans with their peculiar customs. But even by those measures, the Whitakers stood apart. Far-off locals knew better than to probe the eerie howls at dusk or the foul odor drifting from their land. This is one of the most horrifying tales I've encountered about a clan that walled itself off from the world entirely. It's an investigation that unearthed years of concealed atrocities on a secluded homestead where warped rituals concealed unspeakable terrors. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe for more investigations like this one. The Whitaker homestead sat 12 miles from the closest village, reachable solely via a path snaking through maples and gorges. Elias Whitaker had claimed this acreage in 1871 at age 27. Complete with rituals he swore traced to the earliest Scotia-Irish pioneers in the area. Elias was a towering figure, over 6 feet with auburn hair streaking silver too soon. His spouse Lydia, 8 years his junior, had faded into a shadow after 13 years wed. The rare traders who ventured there painted her as a lady with faltering steps. The clan's livelihood hinged on hog raising and modest wheat planting. Elias hawked his wares fitfully at the Monroe Fair, ever solo, ever mute. Dealers spotted him settling tabs with antique currency and dodging talk of his kin. Elias's conduct at the fair was odd, even for backwoods norms. He showed up pre-dawn, dumped his goods swiftly, and vanished before fellow growers appeared. He shunned the idle chatter that defined fair days, staying aloof even amid crowds. When pressed to chat, Elias revealed scant grasp of current farming ways, sticking to approaches others deemed outdated and wasteful. His snub of basic upgrades hinted at seclusion not just spatial, but mental from the group. Parish logs kept by Pastor Elias Thorne logged spotty christenings of Whitaker offspring. The pastor jotted in his edges on the odd traits of the scarce Whitaker kids spotted on rare town trips. Lydia had borne at least 14 children in 13 years hitched. Per patchy courthouse files, though, just 3 or 4 got steady nods in formal papers. The rest lingered only in locals' murmurs. The birth rate was bizarre even for countryside broods then. Health logs from the region indicated usual clans spaced births 1 to 4 years. But the Whitakers birthed yearly in spells, then long gaps, sans notes. Dr. Harlan Brooks, the region's lone healer, had never been summoned for deliveries at the Whitaker property, despite the rapid births. This bucked era norms, when outlying families often called doctors for tough labors. The chief dwelling, crafted of maple timber, blackened by years, bore standard pioneer design, but with weird tweaks. The windows were tinier than usual and ever shrouded by thick drapes. A run-down shed stabled the beasts while lesser builds dotted the grounds haphazardly. What most puzzled callers was the utter hush. Even with numerous children allegedly there, one seldom caught any racket typical of a big brood. Only the odd moo pierced the heavy stillness. The dwelling tweaks included a tall timber barrier round the yard, rare for countryside properties where livestock roamed loose. The barrier fully obscured the ground's innards from the entry path, adding site-based cutoff. Locals saw the Whitaker property never hung wash on lines, a staple view at all other holdings in the region. This lack implied the clan laundered indoors, shunning any reveal of home ways. Elias had built a local rep as a savvy, crude animal doctor, but his ways were seen as savage even by backcountry gauges. Onlookers said he spared no qualms using agony if he thought it worked, uncaring of beast pain. His fixes often meant heavy bloodletting of critters, harsh mixes, and steps others deemed needlessly fierce. Despite the cruelty, some cures worked, upholding his name among needy folks. Elias's tack with ailing beasts stuck to a steady routine. Full isolation of the beast, use of cures sparking clear torment, and ban on others watching his steps. This secrecy stood out among growers who usually swapped animal care tips. The family upheld their own faith rites, seldom gracing the local Baptist chapel. Elias vowed 2 paths handed from forebears, rites he loosely called fitter for backwoods living than standard faith. When eyed in the village, Lydia bore marks of a harsh existence, mended wounds on her palms, and a stooped stance hinting overload work. Dealers noted she grabbed odd amounts of rock salt, cider vinegar, and coarse cloths. Lydia's buys held items queer for a standard backwoods family. Big lots of lye cleanser, usually for tough scrubs, and cheap cloths seeming unfit for family garb. These hinted offbeat uses. Lydia never snagged sweets or playthings for children, stuff other outlying moms sometimes got, even pinched. Her list stayed pure utility, zoned on bare survival. The sparse Whitaker kids glimpsed in open were unnaturally quiet and lagged in growth. Their somber garb fully hid limbs, even in heat. They flinched at sharp sounds and shunned strangers' gazes. Dealers saw Whitaker kids never begged treats or flashed kid wonder. They clung to Lydia, shifting as a tight pack and answering only if poked direct. The kids' ways clashed sharply with other backwoods children who were usually prying and chatty on village jaunts. The Whitaker kids appeared drilled to dodge, mingling, hinting planned isolation. In 1894, a dealer astray in a gale begged cover at the property. He got chilly welcome and bunked in the shed. He claimed hearing pre-dawn stifled kid sobs from the dwelling with tense grown voices. The dealer also spied the shed he slept had farm gear in bad shape, but various tools he couldn't peg, gadgets seeming tweaked for non-farm ends. Overnight, the dealer spied lamps shifting in the chief dwelling in odd ways, like someone doing tasks needing spotlights in varied spots. This shift didn't match usual home doings. When quizzed next morn, Elias just said, "Kids get bad dreams at times," and shut it. The dealer split uneasy and shared his tale wide, fueling guesses on the isolated property's happenings. The grim rep built slow from 1886 to 1896. Stories spread of queer glows at dawn, black blots in the dirt by the dwelling, and how wild beasts fully shunned the spot. Trappers said bucks and other game usual there just vanished near the Whitaker property. This sighting held true among varied watchers over years. In 1896, the Harlan family, neighbors 4 miles off, claimed spotting ditched kid garb on the Whitaker path. The garb was ripped and blotched with dark stuff. Elias said a girl had a mishap in field toil. Sheriff Harlan Vance probed the event, but found Elias helpful with sound tales. Lack of hard proof led to quiet files shut. Vance jotted the vibe at the property was deeply off, and Elias showed over nerves. In quizzes, Elias kept glancing back at the dwelling like dreading eavesdrop from inside. This jot went in the sheriff's own files as a sign of possible force or dread in the family itself. Vance also saw the Whitaker property lacked usual marks of a thriving holding. No clear patch, neat hen pen, or proof of ordered crop setup. The property seemed to run just for bare keep. In April 1899, Evelyn Hart reached Harlan County as a freelance aid nurse backed by faith groups from Charleston, worried on health in cut-off backwoods spots. At 26, Evelyn had schooling from the Charleston Nurse Academy and stint in hilly zones. Evelyn set base in Monroe Village, leasing a space over the local apothecary. Her aim was to tour families in a 80-mile ring, log health states, and teach basics on clean and kid tending. Her entry matched a whooping cough wave hitting various backwoods families, adding rush to her task. Evelyn fast built trust by aiding milder cases and giving quarantine tips, earning group faith. In early weeks, she gathered family info via chats with dealers, the doctor, and the Baptist preacher. That's how she first learned of the Whitakers, called odd and tricky, though none could say why exact. Evelyn found the Whitakers never sought aid in sickness waves, hitting other families there. This gap stood out, as families with lots of children were often most at risk for spread ills. Village apothecary logs showed Elias Whitaker never grabbed basic no-script cures like bark for chills or mineral oil for gut woes. This lack hinted the family handled sickness via full-own ways. Dr. Harlan Brooks gave scant info, voicing worries on possible blood ties based on traits of the few Whitaker kids seen. He also shared ire at the family's steady snub of proper heel care. The doctor said Elias sometimes asked on gash fixes, but ever vague and what if, like hoarding no for later. These off-chats always happened when Elias was solo in village. Dr. Harlan Brooks also said Elias showed keen on bleed and mend info, posing queries hinting hands-on with folk wounds. These chats ever cut short when the doctor pushed for details. Evelyn chose to add the Whitakers to her rounds, despite alerts on stranger hate. Her drill had prepped her for wary groups, and she thought walls would crack eventually. Her first try was in May 1899. Evelyn tracked tips from Dr. Brooks, riding the twisty path that ate near 3 hours on mount due to worn state and need to check ways often. On the trek, Evelyn saw the path to the Whitaker property was less kept than other backwoods routes. Down limbs stayed, and some bits near impassable, hinting the family warded off callers. At reach, she got met by Elias, who stepped from the dwelling pre-dismount. He stood to bar any innards peek and kept 8 feet gap through talk. Elias heard calm as Evelyn laid her task. This dodge hinted unease, giving traceable info on folks. In the chat, Evelyn spied worrying bits. Elias had many marks on palms and arms, some fresh, others aged, hinting repeat hurts. His garb gave off a queer scent she couldn't place. More off was the full lack of normal family life signs seen at other backwoods properties. No seen playthings, hung wash, young voices, or proof of the many children said to dwell. Evelyn saw no worn trails round the dwelling, usual for properties with free-playing children. The ground round the dwelling seemed kept clear of kid activity signs on purpose. Elias cut short when Evelyn said want to check the children for health and shot needs. He said his children were unique and needed no such tending. Evelyn split with deep worry. She first blamed on natural cutoff group hate. On return, she couldn't shake Elias's stare strength and how he blocked property view. Back in Monroe, she logged the trip in her formal book, noting fears on possible child neglect and need for smarter tack. She jotted views on Elias's body state and overall setup. In next weeks, she gathered more info via quiet chats with folks, dealers, and region pros. She found steady reports on the family's queer ways, including odd buys and full no-show of children in group doings. Evelyn found no Whitaker child had gone to the local backwoods school, breaking state rules on must-learn. This no-show stood out as other cutoff families tried to send some children to learn part cheer. The village schoolmaster, Samuel Reed, said he'd never eyed a Whitaker child, despite knowing the family. He'd mailed must-learn notes, but got no reply or call from the family. Pastor Thorne gave baptism log access, showing gaps, she guessed. The papers showed births logged sans matching ends for various children who seemed gone. Evelyn learned from elder folks that Elias had got not just the property, but a rep for offbeat heel ways. They recalled Elias's dad, Harlan Whitaker, as a man who did fixes on beasts and folks using harsh tactics. In July 1899, she tried second, toting basic heel goods as kind move. Again, met by Elias at gate. This time, she spied shifts in windows, shades hinting others peeking. Elias snubbed the goods and restated his family needed no outer aid, but Evelyn saw him more on edge. He eyed the dwelling often and cut talk fast, like eager for her gone. In this trip, she saw property changes missing in May. The dirt showed black blots like fresh-turned soil, and various windows now boarded, cutting inner view. Evelyn also saw a small build noted in May now fully raised with just rock bases seen. The raise seemed new and meant, hinting the family tweaked the property to hide stuff. Evelyn split sure something wrong brewed. She deemed a more official tack needed, maybe with law if neglect fears grew. In months after, Evelyn kept watch via quiet view and info pull from local fonts. She logged nighttime activity patterns at the property, including glows at odd times. Trappers who sometimes crossed the region set off sounds from the property at dawn. Not just child sobs, but what they called toil noises or hard bodywork at weird hours. Evelyn started mapping nighttime activity reports, finding they cycled. Spells of hard activity ever followed by weeks of full hush, hinting specific happenings needing setup and heal. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to follow this investigation. During the summer of 1899, Evelyn took a side probe tack, zoning on info pull from old fonts and public courthouse files. Her dig unearthed an off-pattern spanning 3 family lines. Land files showed the ground got in 1843 by Harlan Whitaker, Elias's granddad, via a shady by-tying to the sudden end of the prior holder under terms files called mysterious. Courthouse papers showed Harlan faced claims of no license heel due in 1848, filed away sans end due to no watchers willing to speak. The isolation and group distrust pattern already ran in the prior line. Evelyn found Harlan Whitaker had been ousted from a faith group in 1841 for ways against Christ's teachings. Chapel files described rites with beast blood and twisted scripture takes. The faith boot had pushed Harlan to seek full isolation, leading him to grab remote grounds where he could do his beliefs sans meddle. This choice set the isolation pattern marking later lines. Evelyn found letters between Harlan Whitaker, Elias's dad, and a Charleston doctor from 1866 to 1871. The notes showed Rush asks for info on fix of blood floss and ways for family line clean. Dr. Bradford Kent, the Charleston healer, had replied with rising alarm. His endnotes voiced worry on crude and risky ideas Harlan built and warned against family boost tries via non-science ways. The letters showed Harlan had built a fixation on blood-pure ideas based on warped takes of era science texts. He thought isolation and picky pick could clean his family line. Dr. Kent had cut letters in 1871 after Harlan told of tests the doctor saw as vile and against any heel or right rule. The doctor's last note held alerts on law fallout. In September 1899, Evelyn tracked Mabel Finch, 58-year-old birth aide who'd worked the region in 1866 to 1876. Mabel gave key info on births in the Whitaker family, spilling bits not formal logged. Mabel said aiding 9 births at the property between 1874 to 1881, painting states she deemed needless, risky. Harlan pushed steps she'd never met in other families. More off, various born children had queer marks that Harlan called blessed signs. These marks seemed made on purpose, not natural, but Harlan banned closer looks. Mabel spilled that Harlan sorted each child right post-birth using rules she didn't grasp. Some children got split fast from others, taken to dwelling parts she couldn't enter. The birth aide got forever barred from return after asking the end of some children she'd helped birth. When she poked on a specific boy, she got told the child had gone back to the soil, a dodge she saw as sly. Mabel also said Lydia Whitaker, then young mate, showed clear dread in births. She often wept quiet and seemed under steady force from Harlan in steps. Evelyn probed by logs at local shops. Owners gave lists showing odd patterns: big lots of rock salt, strong cider vinegar, tough cords, coarse cloths, and gear tweakable for non-field use. More alarming, Elias had grabbed big lots of laudanum and pain dullers free sans script. Shops saw these buys matched spells when the family went unseen in village for weeks straight. Bylogs also showed spotty grabs of slaked lime, a stuff used to speed rot breakdown. These buys didn't match usual field needs and hit at spotty gaps. Elias had also grabbed big lots of lye cleanser and hydrochloric acid various times. Stuff for heavy scrubs that could wipe proof of off-doings. these buys ever cash. In October 1899, Evelyn made a key find at the courthouse. She spotted birth papers for 15 Whitaker children born between 1881 to 1896, but just 6 matching end papers. 9 children just vanished from files. Existing ends showed gaps. Various children listed as gone from chills or body week at tender ages with papers signed by Elias as family head instead of a licensed healer. Evelyn found Elias logged child ends at gaps, hinting meant pattern, not natural ends. Ends usually hit in fall months when the family's isolation was most full. File dig showed girl children more apt to vanish from files, while boys tended to have formal ends logged. This pattern hinted sex-based pick. Evelyn talked Sheriff Harlan Vance on her finds. Vance, a nonsense man with 18-year stint, first showed doubt, blaming worries on mix-ups on old backwoods ways. When Evelyn showed wide files, Vance owned getting spotty reports on the family over years. He said 2 times probing ruckus at the property. Ever with sound tales from Elias. In 1895, Vance had probed a claim of long child howls at dawn said by trappers. Elias said his son had a mishap in field toil and got family way fix. The sheriff owned, not pushing due to no hard proof, but owned ever feeling off in deals. Elias showed over nerves in quizzes. Vance also spilled he'd got reports from folks on Queerscent from the Whitaker property at certain year times. These reports held but fuzzy, making official dig hard. In November 1899, Evelyn tried third, with Beatrice, a state family aide. They got open hate, Elias saying more metal would count as land breach. In this trip, they spied more hard proof. The dirt showed various spots of fresh-turned earth in pattern hinting shallow pits dug and shut repeat. Evelyn got a quick peek of a shape in the window. A bone-thin child who vanished fast. The child had what seemed wraps over face and throat hinting fresh hurts. Beatrice with abuse case stint pegged clear signs of child neglect based on the quick peek of the child. She logged views that would aid in later law steps. Elias cut short, warning lawsuit on more bother. He said his family lived by elder rules and snubbed power of new meddlers over family stuff. Evelyn and Beatrice split, sure formal law step needed. They logged views in official papers urging full dig for guest, neglect, harm, and health breaks. The paper went to state powers in December 1899, starting law steps that would lead to force check order. Steps moved rush due to proof kind shown. In law wait spell, Evelyn kept watch via quiet view. She logged activity patterns at night, including glows at weird hours and off sounds said by area passers. A pattern showed. Hard activity at the property, ever followed by full hush spells, as if the family switched between frenzy activity and full isolation phases. This cycle hinted specific happenings needing setup and heal. Evelyn also found via shop chats that Elias had bumped buys of slaked lime and scrub stuff in winter 1899, hinting he prepped a hide-proof pre-possible official dig. In March 1900, after just 8 months of rush law steps due to case rush, Evelyn got a full courthouse order for must-check of the Whitaker property. The paper signed by Judge Theodore Kane cleared full dig of child live states. Sheriff Vance, now firm backer after file review, agreed to head the check. He took 2 seasoned aides as guard against possible fight based on reports of Elias's growing hate. The rush step choice got swayed by extra paper from Beatrice, who logged proof of harsh child neglect based on third-trip views. State powers saw the case top. The crew left on April 12, 1900, with Evelyn, Vance, Dr. Brooks for heel check, Beatrice for Childwell, and Pastor Thorne as faith watcher if non-faith rights found. On track, Dr. Brooks told the crew body signs of child harm to seek, prepping for possible off fines. His heel stint would key for logging proof usable in courthouse. They found Elias waiting on stoop like tipped to their come. His look had worsened. He was clear skinnier, hair fully gray, palms with new marks, hinting self-hurt fresh. Elias took the order quiet, reading twice pre-saying he'd aid under gripe. He pushed his family got hounded for mix-up of holy ways, and that fines would get wrong by new minds. Elias's body drop was harsher than Evelyn guessed. He'd shed big weight and showed palm shakes, hinting peak stress or possible sick. His eyes were red-veined and showed rising fear. Elias also showed must-do ways, ever checking bolts and glancing back. This way hinted he hid stuff he dreaded find in check. The check started with Chief Dwelling, a 2-level build with 7 rooms tweaked over years sans usual build patterns. The innards showed states that stunned even seasoned diggers. A sharp scent filled the dwelling, a mix of damp, rot, and what Dr. Brooks pegged as infected wound smell. The scent hit harder in some spots, hinting specific activity sources. Inner dwelling tweaks held extra walls, making tight spots and slim halls. These changes seemed built to rule moves in the dwelling and make isolation zones. On base level, they found Lydia in cook space, fixing a meal with flesh of unknown source showing weird hue. Lydia, now 43, showed neglect and hunger signs and many old and new marks. Lydia shunned I meat through deal and answered just with soft one-words, showing fear level that Beatrice knew as sign of long mind harm. Dr. Brooks saw Lydia showed harsh food lack signs, including gum loss and frail locks. Her body state hinted she got no right feed, despite meal fix for family. Lydia also showed peak bow ways, dropping head when Elias spoke and shifting to dodge chance touch with him. This way showed steady dread of punish. The most off find on base level was a space Elias called Family Fix Room. It held a timber board with black blots, made-up gear, including blades and tweaked tools and pots with rotting bio stuff. The walls had basic marks with soot plus signs seeming tries to log steps. The marks showed folk shapes with spot notes hinting plan of repeat doings. Dr. Brooks pegged the gear as field tools tweaked for crude steps. The tweaks were rough but working, showing Elias had fit available tools for specific ends. On upper level, they found 3 used spaces showing worse states step by step. The first held 2 children, a lad about 10 years and a lass of 8. Though body states made age hard to peg, both showed slow growth and ways Dr. Brooks classed as matching long hurt. They clear shrank when grown moved fast or spoke loud. The children wore garb fully hiding bodies, but Evelyn saw clear marks on palms, throats, and faces. When quizzed on names and ages, they eyed Elias pre-answering with shaky softs. Dr. Brooks noted the children showed chronic hunger and possible blood lack signs. Their reacts to pokes were slow, hinting slow mind growth due to hurt or neglect. The second space showed more off states. 4 tinier children between 4 and 6 years, penned in a no-window spot, sleeping on moldy hay pads on ground. The space had no warm. The tinier children showed extreme group isolation signs. No reply to talk tries and shun I meet. Their ways hinted kept in pen for long spells. Dr. Brooks did first checks logging flaws he blamed on possible blood ties, chronic hunger, and repeat body hurt. Various children had marks clear from mint slices. The third space was bolted with a stout lock new set. Elias snubbed the opener till Vance warned door break. He said it held his girl Clara in fix for a unique state. Unopened, they found Clara Whitaker, about 16, sat in sway chair, holding a child, seeming asleep. Clara showed peak body and mind drop. Locks gone in spots, bone skin, blank gazes. She swayed steady, mumbling no-sense words. When diggers entered, she showed no, keeping sway like full alone. The child in her hold, pegged as Jonah Whitaker, 7 years, was aware, but still, eyes open sans aim, thin breath. His form showed proof of steady harm. Many marks, some new, others aged and bad mend. Various skin zones had been poked and shut with black stuff Elias would say as old heel. Dr. Harlan Brooks, set. Jonah was in stun, possible from repeat body hurt and peak hunger. Clara, when quizzed on Jonah, answered with off-com that he was the end vessel and filled his role. She said the marks were link spots needed to keep the Whitaker line bless. The child find gave enough proof for Elias's fast cuff, but Evelyn guessed more proof hid on property. Her stint in checks had taught her to seek hid spots where worse states might be. Beatrice steady logged each child's states, making full files that would keep proof in law steps. Her stint let her peg harm patterns that backed worst guesses on the Whitaker family. The find that set the case happened when Evelyn spied a chill breeze from base floor. Her check stint had drilled her 2 peg hid spots that could hold risky states. Dr. Brooks backed the guess by spotting rot scent from same zone. The smell hit harder than upper finds, hinting bio stuff rotting long. When faced, Elias first denied extra spaces. The crew's push and Warner force dig made him show a hid gap under mold wood and set debris. The gap led to a basic dug zone 5 feet deep and 7 wide. Elias had made a rough step set for entry, showing the zone got steady use over a long spell. The underspace was plainer than Evelyn guessed, but held enough proof to back her worst guesses on the Whitaker family's doings over years. Vance went first with lamp and arm, then Dr. Brooks and Evelyn. The space got split in 2 basic parts, one with some own items and another with proof of fierce doings. The first part held child-owned stuff. Tiny garb, some made toys, items clear from children no more at property. Each item set in way hinting right or special mean to Elias. Evelyn found Elias had kept hair bits from varied children, set in tiny packs tagged just with basic signs. This keep hinted fixation with children who'd vanished from family. The second part held proof of fierce doings. A dirt floor zone got used, repeat 4 steps, leaving lasting black blots. Tweaked field tools set round the zone. Dr. Brooks pegged the tools as usual field gear altered for use as arms or pain tools. The tweaks were rough but good, showing Elias had fit available tools to cause max pain. The most damning find was a set of 3 shallow pits dug straight in dirt floor. The pits held end remains of at least 5 folks, mainly children, buried sans boxes, and wrapped in rotted cloths. Dr. Brooks checked the remains and pegged hurt proof in many bones. Head breaks, rib snaps, and slice marks on bones showed these children had extreme force pre-end. The proof showed Elias used raw power, not any special no. The hurts matched harsh hits and field tools as arms, leading to slow and agony ends. Dr. Brooks said various children ended from hurts that could get fixed with right heel care, but turned fatal due to ment neglect and force keep. Evelyn found proof Elias forced live children to aid in pit children, making extra mind hurt and ensuring hush via dread. Tiny prints round the pits backed this awful way. Elias had built a mad setup of line clean via controlled blood mix and cut of children not meeting his random gauges. He sorted children based on traits he saw as pure signs. Non-pure children got isolation, hit with rising force, and when no better, cut to guard the line. This setup ran years sans outer metal due to family full isolation. The end remains showed Lydia got forced to aid, helping hide proof and tend live children. Her own body marks showed she was also Elias's force victim, kept in check via steady dread. Clara got set as Jonah's tender, whom Elias saw as his top test. The marks on Jonah's form were Elias's savage tries to clean the child via force ways he thought must. The dig showed Elias forced Lydia to eat bits of gone children as part of his mad clean rites. This way explained the unknown flesh in cook space and Lydia's mind drop. Dr. Brooks found proof. Elias used blood from hurt children in rites he thought would pass pure to other family members. These ways based on crude beliefs built via family lines of isolation. Vance logged all proof, making files of end remains, tools, and own items. His stint had prepped him for off scenes, but the raw simple of the Whitaker crimes stunned him deep. The find gave final proof for many charges on Elias, including kill, child harm, neglect crime, and body spoil. The proof also backed Lydia was forced victim, not willing help. Evelyn, whose steady dig made this find possible, logged views and papers that would keep proof in after steps. Her drive had bared years of family force. The crew came from Doug's zone with enough proof to ensure guilty and, more key, to fast-pull live children from a setup that had cost at least 5 other children's lives. Elias Whitaker got cuffed on spot and taken held. His cuff ended a forced cycle that started with his granddad Harlan and ran through 3 family lines of isolation and rising savage. The live children got fast, pulled from property, and taken to special heel care. Their heel would be long and hard, but they were at last safe from the force that set their lives till then. Dr. Brooks did full heel checks of all live children, logging harm proof that would add proof on Elias. His full heel papers would ensure Elias faced full fallout of his crimes. The step at the Whitaker property in April 1900 ended 3 family lines of family force in Harlan County's depths. Elias Whitaker got tried and guilty of many kills. Getting end sentence done in 1902, Lydia got seen as forced victim and got special heel tent till her natural end in 1916. The 4 live children got placed in picked foster families after months heel. Jonah, despite harsh hurt, eventually built basic talk skills and lived to 48 under special tend. Clara Part healed her clear and lived a plain but steady life till 1936. Evelyn kept her work in backwoods health across West Virginia till retire in 1921. Her Whitaker family stint shaped her tack to spot a Trisk. Children in isolation groups for her career rest. Sheriff Vance oversaw full raise of property in 1901, the dwelling and side. Builds got burned, and Doug's zone filled and sealed forever. The property got state took and added 2 national woods. Ensuring no dwell again, Dr. Brooks kept backwoods heel in Harlan County for another 18 years. The Whitaker case stayed one of the most off stints of his heel career, shaping his tack to tend families in isolation spots. Beatrice went back to Charleston post-trial, keeping her family aid with hurt children. She scarce spoke on the Whitaker case, but Pierce noted it deep-shaped her grasp of family force in backwoods groups. Pastor Thorne set steady calls to isolation families in his flock, post-Whitaker find. He thought steady group touch could stop like setups from growing unseen. The Whitaker property became a worn tale murmured among Harlan County folks. Local families started closer watch on isolated neighbors, grasping that peak alone could hide awful secrets. Today, the zone stays knowed well, marked by a tiny sign pegging the spot as history site. Nature has full claimed the zone with fresh saplings where the Whitaker dwelling once stood. The Whitaker tale serves as a nudge that peak isolation can let family force bloom sans check. The case shows the key of group watch and pro-step to guard the most weak. Evelyn's dig proved one firm person with care and drive can tip life and end for society's most weak. Her give saved lives and bared crimes that might else kept on forever. The case bared how 3 family lines of isolation had let the Whitaker family's forceways grow and harden sans outer metal. Each line got more savage than prior. Elias Whitaker's end in 1902 shut a force cycle that started with his granddad Harlan in the 1830s. The family's twisted take of faith and blood-pure ideas had backed years of awful crimes. The live children's heel varied big. While some fit normal family life, others bore mind marks lifelong. Their tough, though, showed human skill to live even peak hurt. The Whitaker case lit the week of children in far backwoods. Spots in early 20th century when link was scant and pro-watch of isolation families was near none. Sheriff Vance often thought the Whitaker dig was both most off and most key case of his stint. It backed his faith in full dig when group folks said worries on isolation families. The find at the Whitaker property stunned the backwoods West Virginia group and served as wake call on hidden force potential in their cutoff hill zone. The case showed how faith extreme mixed with full group isolation could make states where steady family force could run over many family lines, sans, spot, or step. The Whitaker family's crimes stay a sharp nudge of the key of group know and guts to dig when something seems off. Even in the most far and isolation setups. If this tale chilled you to the core, share in the comments what twisted your gut the most, maybe the hidden graves or the twisted rituals. Hit subscribe and smash that bell to dive into more spine-tingling true horror stories from America's shadowy past. Your thoughts fuel the fire. Let's uncover the next nightmare together.